Hello and welcome, I'm Abrax, and in this video I ask the question, does the 9k striker build from the Division 1 work in Tom Clancy's The Division 2? First, a thank you to my supporters over on Patreon, more on how you can support at the end of the video. If The Division 2 is the first Division game you've played, then you're probably curious what I mean by 9k striker. Well, in the first game, just like The Division 2, the core attributes fell into three categories: firearms, stamina, and electronics, which translates into The Division 2 as damage, armor, and skill tier. And just like The Division 2, you could lean into one of these per piece of gear, balancing the attributes as you liked. A popular way to run Striker in The Division 1 was to equip 6 pieces of the classified gear set, which gave you a better version of the standard gear set, then load up on stamina. This would give you 100% extra damage from Striker building stacks, and a very tanky character. But with the Division 1's classified striker, there was another level to this. With every stack, you also received a self-heal, which got stronger the more stamina you had, meaning if you stacked up on stamina, you had a highly survivable build with pretty good damage. Striker in The Division 2 has always been lacking in comparison to its meta-dominating former self of The Division 1. However, with the recent changes to the gear set, this has had me thinking, would this style of striker be making a triumphant return and be a viable striker build in The Division 2? Obviously, unlike striker in The Division 1, we don't get any additional healing in The Division 2, but that's something I felt was a pretty big piece of the original 9k build, and one of the reasons it was so popular. This means in this version for The Division 2, it's something I wanted to replicate. Alright, let's go over the build I've thrown together, then have a little talk about how viable it is in The Division 2. For the mask, I have a striker's mask with armor for the core attribute and crit chance for the minor attribute, and a little more crit chance in the mod slot. For the chest, I have the striker's chest piece. This is mainly because I'm trying to replicate the good old 9k striker of the Division 1, which was a classified gear set. So I thought I would use both the striker chest and backpack to get the maximum amount of function out of striker for the Division 2. This of course gives us the 2-piece gear set bonus of 15% weapon handling. I have armor for the core attribute and crit chance for the minor and mod slot. Using the striker chest gives the gear set the talent Press the Advantage, increasing max stacks from 100 to 200, with stacks lost between 100 to 200 being 3 per second. For the holster, I have one piece of Bellstone. This is to start adding that self-healing that the 9k striker was known for. This is going to come from the 1-piece brand set bonus of 1% armor regen. This gives us a constant armor repair of 1% of our armor per second, which goes without saying, the more armor you have, the higher the amount of repair you get. For the attributes, I have armor in the core and crit chance and crit damage for the minor attributes. The backpack is the striker's backpack for the 3-piece gear set bonus of 15% rate of fire. I have armor for the core, crit damage for the minor, and crit chance in the mod slot. The backpack also gives the gear set the talent Risk Management, which increases the weapon damage increase from 0.65% to 1% per stack. And for the gloves, finishing off the gear set, I have a pair of striker gloves, which gives the build the 4-piece gear set bonus, Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up 100 times. 1 stack lost per second between 0 to 50 stacks, 2 stacks lost per second between 50 to 100 stacks. The attributes on the gloves are armor for the core and crit damage for the minor. And it goes without saying, thanks to the chest and backpack, that 0.65% is up to 1% and stacks are increased up to 200. And finally, for the knee pads, I have the named Murakami knee pads, the Emperor's Guard. I've thrown these in to back up the 1 piece of Bellstone, with the Emperor's Guard having a unique attribute of 1% armor regen, taking the build up to a constant 2% armor repair, again trying to replicate that classic self-heal. The other attributes I have here are armor for the core and hazard protection. The hazard protection will always make me a little sad, but I haven't had a ton of luck farming another pair of these yet. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video so far, why not subscribe and maybe give it a cheeky thumbs up? Alright, weapons. I'm going to break the build video normality here and start by talking about the secondary weapon first. Anyone who played the Division 1 knows that you couldn't have Striker without a showstopper. In the Division 1, the showstopper was an exotic ACS-12 that got more accurate the longer you fired it. Sadly, that's not something we have in the second game, but that doesn't mean we can't try to adapt. The first thing I tried was taking Rock and Roll, a named ACS-12 with Perfectly Extra for the 50% mag capacity, adding as much accuracy as possible. So I added 10% on the sight, 10% on the grip, and 12% for the third attribute. With the other character buffs, this came to a total 57% accuracy, but to be honest, you just couldn't feel it, which kinda made me sad. I really wanted a Division 2 showstopper, but never mind. So I rolled the accuracy on the third attribute to Rate of Fire and swapped the mods out for Crit Chance mods. Crit Chance goes without saying, but Rate of Fire for the third attribute is to help speed up how fast stacks are built, with the ACS-12 being a fantastic way to build stacks for Striker. For the primary, I actually kept switching between two different weapons, because I couldn't really decide which I preferred. My first choice when I thought about putting this build together was a FAMAS with assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage to targets out of cover for the third attribute. The FAMAS is a no-brainer for Striker, with the fast rate of fire helping to keep those stacks up while doing a solid amount of damage. But what really got the cogs turning is the talent Preservation. Killing an enemy repairs 10% armor over 5 seconds. Headshots improve the repair by an additional 10%. This obviously plays into the fantasy of the 9k Striker build from the first game. As long as you're getting kills, you will have the constant 2% armor repair, plus 10% over 5 seconds, 20% if you're getting headshot kills. This makes for a pretty fast heal, and something that you can definitely feel and see in action. For the mods on the FAMAS, I have Crit Chance everywhere and the sturdy extended mag for the extra 20 rounds at the expense of minus 10% reload speed. The second choice for a primary was the SMG Dark Winter. This was obviously less about the healing, but instead trying to buff the build's damage a little. We are running with 6 blue cores, which means the base damage is pretty low. Dark Winter comes with Perfect Killer, which gives us 50% crit damage for 10 seconds on a crit kill. And this is nothing to scoff at on top of 200% weapon damage we can get from Striker. But if I'm honest, this isn't the main reason I picked it up. Dark Winter is a variation of the Vector, an SMG that with Striker has an RPM of 1380. And it puts out a hail of bullets, which really plays into building and maintaining stacks. Plus it just feels really good to use. For its attributes, Dark Winter has SMG damage, crit chance, and damage to targets out of cover, and the mods are all crit damage with the oversized 45 ACP mag in the mag slot for the 20 extra rounds at the loss of minus 10% reload speed. For the specialization, I've gone with Gunner. This is for the increased rate of fire on kill and 10% armor on kill, giving a boost to both damage and survivability. Weapon damage is rolled into shotgun, assault rifle, and SMG because I kept switching between the FAMAS and Dark Winter. The skills are the go-to Crusader Shield and Revive Hive, although going for the Restore Hive is also not a bad choice. With the amount of self-healing this build has, using that would pretty much make you unstoppable. That's the build as I've put it together so far. Sticking with the FAMAS as the primary, the attributes here are 57.5% crit chance, 74.8% crit damage, 75% headshot damage, and over 1.8 million armor. For survivability, we've got 183k armor on kill and 36k armor regen per second. Thanks to our blue cores, the Crusader Shield is also skill tier 6, which gives it 4,700k health, which is a nice little bonus. Now that's all good and well, but is the classic 9k Striker build viable in the Division 2? First thing to say, Striker is nowhere near the dominating force it was in the Division 1. After the recent changes, it's definitely significantly better than the gear set when it was added to the Division 2, but it still doesn't compare to the classified set of Division 1. Just no comparison. But is it viable? Oh yeah. I've been running this build in place of my usual Striker to test it out, and even though I'm usually an all-red build player, I'm not kidding, out of my 5 go-to builds there isn't a single blue or yellow core. I actually really enjoyed this. As you'd expect from a 6 blue core build, the damage to begin with is pretty lacking, but that's to be expected. When you build up your Striker stacks, the damage does get better, but it still felt kind of weak to me. But when you consider the insane amount of survivability, it's not actually that bad. I started playing this build fairly actively, the same way I would have in the Division 1, getting into the thick of it, taking advantage of that 1.8 mil armor and using the ACS to build stacks. And I actually quite enjoyed that with the 6 blue cores, if my armor did start to drop, I could just pop out the tier 6 shield for a few moments while my armor topped itself up, then drop it and carry on. And honestly, playing this build made me feel a little nostalgic. Hearing the thud 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 of the ACS while being mindful of my stacks, then switching to an assault rifle to start doing a little damage, really took me back. I mean, any old school agents really miss the fully auto lightweight M4 in the LVOA? Good times. I think just for the Division 1 feels, I will probably keep this build in my loadouts. I've really been enjoying using it. It's not the fastest build for clearing missions at speed, but it's pretty chilled and laid back for heroic control points, giving you an acceptable amount of damage and some serious survivability. I might have to have a play around just to see if I can squeeze out some more damage, but overall, good build. And yes, still a very viable build in the Division 2. But I don't think it's a 9k striker anymore. I think we're talking 6 blue core striker. If you've been playing with Striker, how have you been running it? Personally, I've been running an accuracy headshot version, which is a pretty welcome change to the crit-based builds I usually run. If you'd like a video on that one, let me know. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for future Division 2 content. And as always, a massive thank you to my supporters over on Patreon for helping me make this channel the best it can be. And if you would like to join them, you can support the channel for as little as £1 a month. You'll find a link to the Patreon in the description below, or if you prefer, you can now become a channel member by clicking join next to the subscribe button. Have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one.